South Korean President Lee Myung-bak has initiated a significant diplomatic push, calling upon China to facilitate a trilateral meeting with North Korea aimed at formally ending the Korean War. This move underscores a renewed effort by Seoul to engage Pyongyang in substantive dialogue seeking a lasting peace settlement on the Korean Peninsula. President Lee's administration believes that China, as a key player in regional security and a long-standing ally of North Korea, hold a crucial position to encourage constructive engagement from Pyongyang. The South Korean president emphasized that a formal conclusion to the Korean War, which technically remains ongoing due to an armistice agreement signed in 1953, is essential for fostering stability and paving the way for denuclearization. The proposal for a trilateral summit involving South Korea, North Korea, and China reflects a strategic approach to leverage Beijing's influence in encouraging North Korea to return to the negotiating table. This diplomatic overture comes at a time when inter-Korean relations have seen periods of both tensions and tentative cooperation, and President Lee's administration appears keen to seize any opportunity for de-escalation and long-term reconciliations. In a seemingly reciprocal gesture, North Korea has expressed a desire to establish new ties with South Korea, signaling a potential shift in its diplomatic posture. This expression of interest from Pyongyang, conveyed through state media, suggests a willingness to explore avenues for improved relations, though the specifics of these new ties remains to be fully elaborated. Analysts interpret North Korea's statement as a possible response to South Korea's diplomatic overture, indicating that Pyongyang may be open to discussing various forms of cooperation and engagement. However, the exact motivations behind North Korea's declaration are subject to speculation, with some experts suggesting it could be a tactic to ease international pressure or to seek economic benefits. Despite the uncertainty, the stated desire for new ties from North Korea presents a window of opportunity for South Korea to pursue its peace initiative. The South Korean government has consistently advocated for a comprehensive approach to inter-Korean relations, encompassing humanitarian aid, economic cooperation, and security dialogues, all underpinned by the ultimate goal of denuclearization. The convergence of President Lee's call for a meeting and North Korea's expression of interest could mark a pivotal moment in the complex dynamics of the Korean Peninsula. The historical context of inter-Korean relations is fraught with periods of intense confrontation and sporadic attempts at reconciliation. The Korean War, which erupted in 1950, divided the peninsula and left a legacy of deep distrust and animosity. The armistice agreement that halted the fighting did not formally end the war, leaving the two Koreas technically still at war. Over the decade, numerous efforts have been made to bridge the divide, including high-level summits and various forms of cross-border cooperation. However, these initiatives have often been hampered by North Korea's nuclear weapons program and its provocative actions, leading to cycles of escalating tensions and breakdowns in dialogue. President Lee's current initiative aims to break this cycle by proposing a structured discussion that includes China, a party with significant influence over North Korea's foreign policy and economic lifeline. The inclusion of China is seen as crucial for ensuring the credibility and sustainability of any potential peace talks, as Beijing has consistently advocated for stability on the peninsula and has played a role in past multilateral negotiations concerning North Korea's nuclear program. China's role as a potential mediator and facilitator is paramount in President Lee's diplomatic strategy. Beijing has historically maintained close ties with Pyongyang, providing economic assistance and diplomatic support. This unique relationship positions China to exert considerable influence over North Korea decision-making. South Korea's appeal to China to convene a trilateral meeting reflects a recognition of this influence and a strategic decision to leverage it for peace. Chinese officials have in the past expressed support for dialogue and denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula, advocating for a peaceful resolution to the ongoing tension. The challenge for China will be to convince North Korea to participate in a meeting that could potentially address sensitive issues such as denuclearization and the formal end of the Korean War. Beijing's diplomatic skill will be tested in balancing its long-standing relationship with Pyongyang with its broader regional interests in stability and non-proliferation. The international community will closely watch China's response to President Lee's request, as its active involvement could significantly impact the prospect for peace on the Korean Peninsula. The concept of new ties proposed by North Korea is open to various interpretations, adding a layer of complexity to the current diplomatic landscape. While it could signify a genuine desire for improved relations, it could also be a calculated move to secure concessions or to project a more conciliatory image internationally. Historically, North Korea has used diplomatic overtures to alleviate sanctions pressure or to gain economic aid, only to revert to provocative behavior later. Therefore, South Korea and its allies will likely approach this declaration with cautious optimism, seeking concrete actions and verifiable commitment from Pyongyang. Any new ties would likely involve discussions on economic cooperation, cultural exchange, and possibly even family reunions, which have been a recurring theme in inter-Korean relations. However, the overarching issue of denuclearization remains a critical point of contention, and South Korea will likely insist that any long-term improvement in ties must be linked to progress on this front. The challenge will be to find a balance between fostering trust through engagement and maintaining a firm stance on denuclearization. The potential implications of a successful trilateral meeting and the establishment of new ties are far-reaching. A formal end to the Korean War could significantly de-escalate tensions on the peninsula, leading to a reduction in military buildup and a greater sense of security for both Korea. It could also pave the way for increased economic cooperation, benefiting both sides. For South Korea, a more stable and peaceful relationship with the North could unlock new opportunities for trade, investment, and infrastructure development. For North Korea, improved ties could lead to a reduction in international isolation and potentially alleviate the severe economic hardship faced by its population. However, the path to peace is fraught with obstacles. Deep-seated distrust, ideological differences, and the unresolved issue of denuclearization will continue to pose significant challenges. The success of President Lee's initiative will depend on the willingness of all parties to engage in good faith, make difficult compromises, and commit to a long-term vision of peace and reconciliation on the Korean Peninsula. The intricate dance of diplomacy between Seoul, Pyongyang, and Beijing will be a defining factor in shaping the future of inter-Korean relations. The role of the United States under President Donald Trump's administration will also be a critical factor in any potential breakthrough in inter-Korean relations. While President Lee has focused on engaging China as a primary facilitator, the United States remains a key ally of South Korea and a significant player in regional security. Any progress toward a formal end to the Korean War or substantial improvement in inter-Korean ties will likely require at least tacit approval and support from Washington. The Trump administration's approach to North Korea has been characterized by periods of both aggressive rhetoric and unprecedented direct engagement, including summits between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Therefore, the coordination between Seoul and Washington will be crucial in ensuring a unified strategy. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, in particular, would play a vital role in communicating with South Korean counterparts and shaping the broader diplomatic strategy. The United States has consistently maintained that denuclearization must be at the core of any resolution, and this stance will undoubtedly influence the parameters of any trilateral discussions or efforts to establish new ties. The delicate balance of power and interest among these key nations will determine the ultimate trajectory of peace efforts on the Korean Peninsula. The broader international community, including countries like Japan and Russia, also has a vested interest in the stability of the Korean Peninsula. Japan, as a close neighbor and ally of the United States, has often expressed concerns about North Korea's missiles and nuclear programs, which pose a direct threat to its security. Therefore, any move toward de-escalation and denuclearization would be welcomed by Tokyo. Russia, while maintaining its own complex relationship with North Korea, has also called for dialogue and a peaceful resolution to regional tension. Both countries would likely be monitoring the development closely, and their diplomatic support could be valuable in sustaining any peace process. The current initiative by President Lee, therefore, is not just a bilateral or trilateral affair, but a regional and global concern that has implications for international security and stability. The desire for a formal end to the Korean War resonates with a broader international aspiration for peace, and the potential for North Korea to establish new ties with the South could open doors for greater engagement with the international community as a whole, provided that denuclearization remains a central theme. The intricate web of diplomatic relations and national interests will continue to shape the narrative surrounding peace efforts on the Korean Peninsula. That's all for me for today. If you like the video presentation and you would like to follow for more, hit that subscribe and like button now, and we will continue to build this show for you. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. Bye for now.